A collective whew, from me to you to everybody out there. Welcome back to the Fighting Smile, everybody. With your boy Matty B, and over there is my main man Al. Game 1 NLCS in the books. Phillies hold on to the 5-3 victory. Al, instant reaction because I know we got a lot to do.
Woo! That is it. Every time Kimbrel comes up, you have to. Yeah, I mean, listen, in these tight games, and we're gonna get into it a little bit. Game maybe shouldn't have been as tight as it was, but it's a win. The first game in NLCS. You can't ask much more than a W leading into this series. I know we got the guy waiting on here because he's got to get to work. So let's bring him in. Matty B, let's welcome back at Citizens Bank Park, Rock Hoffman. Rock, what's going on, bud?
Hey guys, maybe a little bit more exciting of a win than you thought it was going to be after the way it started with Schwarber smashing the first pitch of the game off the video board and right, and Harper following up the batter later with a homer from Nick Castellanos, his fifth of the postseason. And Wheeler was dealing for 5 innings. He was virtually unhittable. And then in the sixth, I guess he tired a little bit. He allowed Evan Montgomery to get on. And then really kind of a bloop home run, a bloop and a blast. And that was kind of a bloop and a bloop, but it counted for 2 runs. And the Diamondbacks hit him pretty hard. I felt like in the rest of that 6th inning, they were all outs, thankfully. And that was the end of Zach Wheeler. So Anthony came in and kind of poured gas on a non-existent fire and kind of started one with, Wheeler didn't walk anybody, and he comes in and walks the first batter, takes a nice play to field the ball, and then throws it into center field. That was first and third with no out. And they got out of that with only allowing 1 run. And Jose Alvarado was excellent, I thought. And, Greg, I can't pronounce that guy's damn name. Greg Kimbrel was kind of Greg Kimbrel, and he makes it exciting.
Yeah, Rock. I mean, absolutely exciting. More exciting than it should be. And me and Matty B were talking off to the side. What was the feeling at the park in the press box? We both believe they should have had another at least 2 to 3 runs. Could have been more. What was the feeling later? Kind of saw that 2-run blast. Then you saw them let up another 3rd run. Now they're within 2 runs. Was there any panic setting in?
No, just, probably, like I said, just it was closer than it needed to be. As well as Wheeler pitched for 5 innings. The game was probably closer than it should have been. The Phillies were absolutely dominant early with the home runs. And like you said, they had other chances. In that 3rd inning, they would get the bases loaded, would come out, and JT hit into a double play. They rattled contact in the 4th with Brad Marsh on 3rd, and he was out at the plate. The Diamondbacks had the infield in. So there were some other opportunities there that the Phillies could have capitalized on and made this, kind of a laugher. But like you guys said, the key is getting the first one. You win 70% of these series if you win the first game. So at least the National League Championship Series throughout history, the team that wins game 1 wins over 70%. So that's a great sign. The bad news is the Diamondbacks can come in here tomorrow and win and kind of blow that all up and take home field advantage. So you can celebrate this one for a little while, but not too long.
Rock, real quick, jumping off of what Al said. 2 for 10 tonight. The Phillies were with runners in scoring position. The deeper we roll into this postseason and the more high stakes this becomes, Rock, this team cannot continue to live as it has all season long with not being able to consistently drive runners in when they're in scoring position. Do you agree or disagree, or can we just expect to live by the long ball and die by the long ball?
Something's kind of gave eventually, and I was looking at one point, and JT actually came through with that. He had the RBI on that 5th run, but they got on base. Rome was hit. Bryson stopped walking, but JT had that double play. But those 3 guys were really ineffective in the middle of the batting order tonight, and you're going to need those guys to get something to keep the train moving. With the guys, Harper or whoever's Turner, when they get on base, if they die on the bases, that's not good. So you're going to need those guys in the middle of the lineup to find their stroke a little bit. I think because you're right, you can't live on the long ball because sooner or later that ends.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, he's Rock Hoffman. You can find him at Football Stories, footballstories.com. And also, he'll be back in the press box again tomorrow night. You'll be able to see his article coming out, breaking down game one as he does always. We'll see him again tomorrow, game two, right here post on EOP Sports. I know he's got to get down to
Aaron Nola going to be on the hill for the Phillies.
Yep, and I know you got to get down to the press box, ask those hard-hitting questions that you do. Rock, we love you. We'll see you tomorrow, all right, brother?
All right, guys, have a good night. 7 more, Topper.
That's right.
More.
And he said it 7 more. I mean, I know. Listen, I know it's not perfect, but and yes, they're 2 for 10 in scoring position. Not ideal. It's not ideal, Matty, but the most ideal stat when you break down ERAs and averages and strikeouts and doubles and home runs and all that stuff, the only number that matters, or the only letter in this case that matters, is that W, man. And that is what we got, and that is what we need going forward. And I mean, I know we feel like we've said this before, like, this game's the most important, setting the tone, doing this, but I mean, these two teams came in hot. We talked about this. You got two teams coming in hot. Both teams, they have, this is the first game the Diamondbacks lost all postseason.
Yep.
So we actually handed them their first L. The question is, how do the Diamondbacks bounce back? And do they bounce back, or can you deflate this team taking 2 games tomorrow, heading back to Arizona for 3 more?
So it jumps on the point that I was making with Rock and that I've made for 2 years while I sat on this show and rambled on into the night, was the fact that runners in scoring position is killing this team. Deflating a team is by pouring on runs and sucking everything they have out of them, sucking any belief that they may have to win a game out of them. And the Phillies failed to do that tonight. They were the better team early on in this game. Zach Wheeler, for the 3rd straight appearance in this postseason, was unhittable. And the Phillies gave him some runs. They didn't do enough yet again, and they made this thing tight. So that's how you deflate the 2022 Phillies, a la the Arizona Diamondbacks of this year. You just got to suck their will to live out of them. And in entering this series, the Phillies batted .286 with runners in scoring position against the Diamondbacks for the season series. So they know how to do it against them. Al, it's something that's been kind of just keeping me up at night all summer long, and I fear it might continue on through this month.
Listen, like I said, it's the W that matters in the end. If they can they keep stringing these together. I'm not worried about it until I'm worried about it. I get what you're saying. Yes, in a perfect world, runners in scoring position being 40, 50%, but it is never going to be easy for a Philadelphia team.
I'm not asking for 40 or 50. I'm asking for 270 batting average. That's not too much to ask for.
I'm saying with runners in scoring position.
Right, I'm asking for like 270 batting average with runners in scoring position. Through the postseason, the Phillies are batting like 240 in the runners in scoring position. And then if you do the percentage, 2 for 10, I don't know what that is. I
200. You're batting 200. I get it. Yeah. I get it. But I'm not going to get upset with this team until they give me a reason. Listen, it's going to be heart-wrenching no matter what. I really don't expect, especially at this point in the NLCS and hopefully into the World Series at one point, I don't expect any blowout games. I don't. I really don't. You have 4 teams left in the hunt right now. Us, the Diamondbacks, and of course, the Astros and the Rangers. And it's not going to be easy going forward. But real quick, before we jump into anything else, I want to hit a couple of these comments. Ellis says that's one. That's absolutely right. 1 down, 3 more to go. Let's get through this. Ha ha ha. F the Braves. Still got a lot of roasting the Braves.
We gotta leave that behind. We gotta move
on. Daniel Berry, what's up? What's up, buddy? How you doing? Phil's Ranger World Series. Let's hope.
Want that. Don't want that at all.
I don't care who it is. I just want to get in the World Series. I'll take whoever at this point. I'm not afraid. Phillies winning it this time. I called a double play before it happened. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for willing it into existence, Daniel Berry. Pat Bernard chiming in here. Aggressive base running, and the fan base made things uncomfortable for Zach Gallen. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about that in a second. Linda, hallelujah, but my nerves. I know, Linda, absolutely. And Chris is chiming in. If we take both games at home, we could be in good spot to win the series. Oh, absolutely. Go 2-0 in any series, especially And, 7-game series is not as much of a cushion, but it's still, listen, it's got to be deflating, especially when you haven't lost a game yet. And then who would go in game 4 if Ranger takes game 3 start? I know they said they were throwing simulated games or whatever on Sunday with both Walker and Sanchez. So it could maybe it's a platoon type situation. They let Walker go 3 innings and Christopher Sanchez go 1 or 2 innings after that. I don't know. We won't know until that time comes. But remember, so if the next time we could see Wheeler is in a possible game 5 Saturday scenario. So let's hope we don't even have to worry about that. But we'll find out going forward. And guys, I remind you that this show is brought to you by the great people over at Sherry'sTickets.com. That's right, family owned and operated since 1946. Sherry'sTickets.com. Guys, you need those hard to get tickets. You want to go to Mars game? Go to Sherry's Tickets. Everybody else you're gonna get the prices, you're gonna get the checkout, and boom, hidden fee after hidden fee after hidden fee. It's gonna hit you. But guess what? Go to Sherry'sTickets.com. The price you see on the screen is the price you'll pay, plus an additional 10% using that promo code EOP10. And you're like, hey, I need tickets for something else. Don't worry, you name it. They got it. Sports, concerts, theater. They have it all. Go to Sherry'sTickets.com. Go ahead, Matty B. Take it here.
Yeah, listen, you make all good, valid points, and of course, at the end of the day, it's a win. Let's go to the box score, and let's kind of talk about this in baseball terminology. The Diamondbacks 3 runs on 4 hits. They did have an error. Phillies 5 runs, 9 hits, and 1 error. How the scoring went down, or kind of a synopsis of the game. Zach Wheeler, for the 3rd straight game, came out smoking, striking out the first 2 batters he faced, then forcing the ground out to end the inning. And then the Phillies, the man who needed to get Al, if there was anybody in this lineup that needed to get going right away, and it was the man who got things going right away for the Phillies in the bottom of the 1st, a monstrous leadoff home run for Kyle Schwarber, 420 feet. How are you feeling, Al, as that ball was sailing over the wall at CBP in the bottom of the 1st inning?
Well, I remember talking the other day with somebody saying, we beat the Braves pretty much on the back of Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos, and Bryce Harper, right? I said that's just 3 out of the 9 guys in the lineup who have really, like, not that other guys haven't contributed at times, but for the most part, those guys were making the difference. I said if Kyle Schwarber starts hitting, I feel bad for any team in front of us at this point. And he didn't wait more than 1 pitch to make that happen. And hopefully this is a sign of things to come going forward, because he had a couple singles and doubles in the series, but the power that we know from Kyle Schwarber has not been there up until tonight. So big moment. I mean, listen, it's a tone setter. I mean, that's where I think that's where something that's forgotten. Yes. A lot of people goes, well, if he's in the 3rd or 4th spot or 5th spot or something, there could be a guy or 2 on base. That's 1 run, 2 runs, one home run comes a double, or a 2-run home run, or 3-run home run. And I get that. But also tell me that Trey Turner, tell me that Bryce Harper or Alec Boehm or Stott or Muto, they don't feed off of that. I mean, it's Bryce Harper's 31st birthday tonight. And of course, he comes out and goes, Kyle, you can't have all the fun. I'm going to do it too. And then, of course, Nick Castellanos just doing Nick Castellanos stuff. And I know a lot of guys wanted to sell him down the river last year, but he has been huge for us all year long. But no, I mean, it is exactly what this team needs to get a game going and set a tone. And just, I mean, not that this team hasn't been loose, but it just, when they come up to plate, it's just like they're seeing beach balls after that happens.
Right, and not just the team. I mean, obviously the frenzied crowd, coming into the game all pumped up. Game 1 of the NLCS, Wheeler has another dominant 1st inning. Kind of erases those memories. If anybody had the NLDS memories of the Diamondbacks getting out on top of the Dodgers and pounding them into submission in the 1st inning, well, that was kind of on my mind tonight heading into that top of that 1st inning. But that was out the door, and then they come up, and then Schwarber sets the tone, as you said, with the home run, and then 2 batters later, Harper follows that up with his home run to make it 2-0. You're absolutely right. It was a tone setter. And then Wheeler went on to go and pretty much take care of his business, retire to the next 15. You sprinkle in a Castellanos homer, and you had yourself and then a Trey Turner single, or a Bryce Harper single and a Trey Turner run. It's 4-0 Phillies now, and we're not even into the 4th inning yet, Al. So things were rolling. But then we get to the aforementioned kind of leaving runners on base. 2 situations that Rock brought up. The bases loaded with 1 out. Runners on 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. And the Phillies failed to get those runs in. kind of leaving the meat on the bone and leaving Zach Gallen in the game. We had him on the ropes and we didn't finish him. So, but all's well that ends well. The Phillies were able to hold on 5-3 winners tonight at the bank, taking that 1-0 to nothing lead for the Phillies. Actually, for the Phillies pitching wise, let's talk Zach Wheeler real quick. On the night, Wheeler went 3 hits, 2 runs. They were earned, 8 strikeouts, 1 homer, 81 pitch count, a little high, but I can live with it. Sir Anthony comes in with that very perplexing. Let's talk about the error from Sir Anthony.
I love how 81 pitches is a high pitch count nowadays.
It is in 6 innings.
Not really. I mean, here's my thing is through 4 innings, he threw 50 pitches, right? I'm looking at my notes here.
Yeah.
And then it's not unheard of after you get to that second time around, you get that third time around, the guy's getting a little bit, it's not unheard of to start, instead of going 10 to 12 pitch innings, to go to 15, 16, 17 pitch innings. And that's what he did. If this was a regular baseball game in the normal regular season, he probably would have came back out even letting up those 2 runs. So, I mean, to me, he did everything right. If I said to you, Matty B, this is out from the future before the game starts, Zach Wheeler is only going to let up 2 runs, or 3 runs, I guess, in the whole thing. You would be happy with that, right? You wouldn't be like, okay, it's not a deadpan win right there, but you would be happy with that stat, right? Knowing it before the game starts.
Are you going to tell me he gives up three runs in 6 innings, or are you going to tell me he gives up 3 runs for the game?
I'm just telling you, he gives up 3 runs the whole game. That's all I'm telling you.
I would actually be a little concerned by that, honestly.
I mean, listen, like I said, again, you got 2 powerhouse teams that are coming on, or like smoking hot, like 2 trains running at each other, who have just pretty much plowed their way for the most part through the postseason so far in the wild card, in the NLDS. Giving up 2 to 3 runs against a team that's been giving up more, and very much similar to what we've been doing. A lot of solo shots. I mean, Christ, against the Dodgers, they had 4 solo home runs in 1 inning alone. So, I mean, I'm not sitting there saying that's the best case scenario. Of course, a goose egg would make everybody happy, but in the long run, I'm happy knowing how good this team hits. Knowing if I'm being told that, I'm assuming he's going at least a solid 6 innings. And I'm happy with that, knowing how our offense can score. So, no, I mean, I hate how people can sometimes take 1 inning out of 6 innings, and he was electric most of the night.
He left the game in very capable hands at 5. It was a 5-2 lead when he left, and you had every right to field the way you did. Obviously, the home run, the Perdomo there, the 2-run shot. Yeah, it's not something you want to walk away from, but he was able to work himself out of that 6th inning and end it there. And then, of course, the 7th inning, Al, is really what I want to talk about, because that's the inning that perplexed me the most. Sir Anthony, who's been really good in this postseason in the limited time we've seen him, and even towards the end of the season, he kind of just got his swag back a little bit. I know he's been kind of frustrating all year, but he comes in the 7th, he gives up the leadoff walk, and then he gives the ground ball back to him, a tailor-made freaking double play ball, and he throws it in the center field, Al. That cannot happen in the NLCS. Do you agree?
That yes, 100% agree. That throwing error that's a killer. And here's my thing is, that throwing error doesn't happen. It's a 2-run game. It's still a 3-run game, and they probably get out of that with a double play there, most likely. I would have probably, just knowing that it is not an easy play for a pitcher to turn around on the mound and throw directly behind them. It really isn't. It takes time for them to adjust. So I would have preferred him to probably, eye the guy back to third to keep him from scoring, and then throw the guy out at first and just went and got the 1 out instead of trying for the double play. But you gotta roll them dice sometimes in the postseason. It's just, as long as it doesn't come back to bite you. Sir Anthony, like you said, yeah, he's kind of been up and down, struggling. Confidence-wise, hasn't been the greatest for him all year up until probably September, maybe even a little early August. And he's looked good up until now. And like I said, Walt just said, I haven't been, I guess he means a Sir Anthony fan all year. I don't want to see him again unless the game is lopsided. I don't know. I wouldn't say that exactly, Walt, because he has been good. He has played well. But it was a throwing error. It wasn't like a pitching error.
Oh,
It was a throwing error. I mean, I know you're like pitching, throwing, but yeah, no, it was a base playing error. If he isn't secure in throwing that, he should have looked the guy back to third, threw the guy out first, and then went after the other out, and probably been a little more safer that way.
we just can't have that. But for the Phillies bullpen credit, they did lock it down the rest of the way. No more runs were scored, even though Craig Kimbrell made it an adventure in the ninth inning as we were watching together there at the end. So 5-3 is what you have it. My offensive MVP tonight for the Philadelphia Phillies, I got to go to the birthday boy, Mr. Bryce Harper. He had himself a night at the dish tonight. He was 2 for 3 with 2 runs, 2 RBIs, a homer, and a walk. His batting average now in the postseason now a whopping 409 from a man who is about 10 months off, or coming up on 11 months off of Tommy John surgery. So pretty stellar and impressive for Bryce Harper. So
I mean, it's 409, and you want to give it to the birthday boy, solo home run. I mean, he puts scores on the board right away in the first 2 at bats he has with the solo shot, and the single with the RBI. He gets a walk. He gets the second. He only had the 7th inning where he grounded out to or he popped out to the third baseman. But Trey Turner is I'll agree with you for tonight's game, but overall, there's only one person with a better batting average than Bryce Harper. It's Trey Turner. He's batting 500 in the postseason, man. You can't look past that. You really can't. But give Bryce Harper the nod, because it was Bryce Harper who got him here. It wasn't Dombrowski. It was general manager Mr. Bryce Harper who made it happen.
The other offensive note that I like to put out there, Alec Bohm continues his struggles. It looked like he was kind of maybe a little snake bitten tonight. He was making solid contact, but the ball just wasn't finding some grass. 0 for 3, batting average down to 167, but he still occupies the 4 hole out. Me and Mike spoke about this, or Mike was very adamant about this when we did the show the other night for game when we closed out the Braves. Is it time to move Alec Bohm down in this lineup?
I would say yes, normally. And the only reason I'm okay, once I'm okay, I wouldn't do it just yet. But I would say give him game 2. If it continues where he seems either A, snake bitten, or B, just doesn't, produce, I would say start moving down, because the guy behind him is only batting at 208, Bryson Stott, who's been kind of quiet for the most part outside that grand slam he had out in the wild card. But Remuto, who guys have been banging on all year long for it, he's batting at 269. He's playing well all around, home or away. And then Nick Castellanos, of course, batting at 370 and just powering his way through. My question is, do you upset the apple cart? Say, because I know the easy answer is, we'll move Nick Castellanos up to the 4th spot. But is he getting the production down in that 6-7 spot because he's in that 7 spot? I
say move Castellanos up to 3, move Harper down to 4, and then move Bohm down to was Castellanos 7th? That's what I would.
Well, Harper was in the 4 hole just in the wild card series.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was just because of the pitching matchups or whatever have you. They were just spreading them out. But I'm going to hit some more of these comments here, guys. I want to thank you for joining us. For those who are just joining in and you didn't know because you live under a rock, the Phillies win game 1 of the NLCS against the D-backs, 5-3 victory.
7 more. 7 more.
7 more. I think Walt said that earlier, and we're going to continue saying that. James is saying, let's pray we get a postseason Nola, not April Nola. I mean, listen, we can't bang on Nola. He has been really good so far, and he's got 2 solid starts. So as of right now, I'm not expecting anything less but just top-notch Aaron Nola until he gives me a reason not to believe. Brian McNenemy is saying, great game. Absolutely. Brad's saying, hey, guys, what's up? Alvarado and Kimbrell were lights out. I want to know if I would say lights out for Kimbrell or not as much as Alvarado, but they made it interesting with some deep counts. For people who thought it would be the same, this would have been a 7-3 game. The Phils barreled 4 balls right at people with runners in scoring position. That's baseball, man. They did hit, both teams, they really did have some heart. Got to give the defense some credit where we don't always do. Usually when you see an outfielder like Rojas or Brandon Marsh track a ball down, but third base, second, Bryson Stott, that catch in the 8th inning, right at his ankles. Bohm and even even over in the Diamondbacks on their first, second, and third, like they had some well hit like bullets shot at them, and they played them well. So the defense, you have to give the defense, the credit where credit's due. Kimbrel's 10 for 10 in save opportunities in a postseason career, absolutely. Like I said, doesn't make it easy. Schwarber, Castellanos, Harper had amazing home runs. Is there? Let me ask you a question. Let's go back to that, Brad. I want to ask Brad and everybody and Matty B. Is there anything that's not during the postseason, especially? Is there any home run that's not amazing?
No.
I mean, no. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. Like, I mean, unless you have like you're down 12-0 and you hit a solo shot in the ninth inning just to make things interesting.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think any home run is pretty amazing come the postseason, especially. Bohm and Stott are terrible. They're not playing well. I mean,
Don't forget, they got us here. They got us to this point. All right. So we can't.
Yeah. I mean, Bohm, everybody forgets, was our RBI leader.
They've had great seasons.
Stott has grown. I kind of give Stott the not as rocketing from going one season to the next as Jalen Hurts, but maybe like Tyrese Maxey style, like a guy who was really good and had high expectations, but the following year I felt overshot the expectations.
Yeah.
I expected a good year from Stott, but not the kind of year. I mean, Stott is putting it out there that he can be a big time contributor for many years going forward. I know a lot of people try to do the Chase Utley comparison. I'm not there yet, but if he continues on this trajectory, yeah, then I can agree with that. If the trajectory is to stay that way, yeah, absolutely. And I even think Chase Utley himself would say that. Bohm and Stott had 3 of the 4 barrels with runners in scoring position. Yeah. I mean, the good part about that, it's a build-off. You win this game, you get a W. I know, Matty B, the runners in scoring position, it is a build-off. I mean, you have to admit, this is why these are 7-game series, 5-game series instead of 1. I mean, could you imagine postseason baseball being like football where you have 1 game and that's it?
Awesome. That'd be great.
Oh, my God. It'd be talk about nerve-wracking and talk about upset galore. I mean, anybody could win that at that point.
Yeah.
Wheeler was fantastic with strikeouts. Yeah, I mean, he tallied up 8 strikeouts tonight. Yeah, absolutely. They'll come around, says Steve. Listen, I'm not worried about any individual player on this team. I mean, let's rewind back last year. I mean, it took the bat spike in the Braves series to get Rhys Hoskins going. JT was quiet until he had his in the Parker home run. Brandon Marsh also very quiet in the postseason until he had that home run against the Braves. I mean, there was a lot of guys. Even Kyle Schwarber again was very quiet in the postseason until that point. I mean, they rode the back of Bryce Harper in the wild card last year, and then other guys started to step up against the Braves, and then things continued, but also ultimately sputtered out in the World Series, especially after having an amazing Game 4 at home, and then, or was it Game 3? Whatever it was at home, and then Game 4, just S in the bed. Tomorrow's Game 2, Merrill Kelly and Nola versus Merrill Kelly versus Nola. Absolutely. Again, I'm not. People want to jump on Nola right away. He has not had a great regular season, but as we know, once the postseason starts, we don't look at the regular season. You can use some of it to base your opinions off of it, but how many guys are playing much better right now who you would not expect at this point if you based off the regular season? JT, he was okay. He didn't have any stellar regular season. He's doing really well.
You got to get the Nola from. So the problem with Nola last year is we had a dominant Nola in the wild card and dominant in the NLDS. And then it was a Game 2 in San Diego that he just didn't have it. He really didn't have it from that point on for the rest of the postseason. And I think that's mainly what I think a lot of people are remembering, and maybe they just can't pinpoint it. But that's definitely in my mind. The Aaron Nola in the NLCS last year was not a good Aaron Nola. So obviously this is this year. So, but I think that's where a lot of this is coming from now, especially with him.
Yeah. Again, I think part of it also, Matty, falls into is that people really know that there's a good chance Aaron Nola's maybe career as a Phillies coming to an end. And it's kind of like, I feel like people mentally brace themselves for the end. But yes, everybody, listen, even Zach Wheeler has the opportunity to implode, but it's just, it's less likely with him. But everybody, like, this is what happens. Everybody gets re-energized in this postseason. And so far, I mean, Aaron Nola, I mean, Zach right now is like has an ERA of 2.38. I'm trying to say Nola right now has an ERA of 1.42.
Yeah.
1.42.
No,
What
they've
more could
carried
you
it.
ask for?
They have been
Yeah.
dominant this postseason. Absolutely dominant.
I know as Philadelphia fans, we tend to look for the negative side of things sometimes, or we're waiting for that final shoe to drop. But in this case, I'm just waiting. If it's going to drop, let it drop. I'm not going to drop it prematurely, I guess is a good way of putting it. Like, I'm
Premature
behind Aaron Nola. Yeah, premature droppage. We don't have a pill for that, right? But my thing is, I'm like, I mean, have we not learned anything from the Trey Turner situation? I mean, there's a guy that had how much people love him right now. Go back to August, 9th? Was it? Anything from August 9th, from April 1st to August 9th. It's a big span. It's 4 months, right?
Yeah.
People were booing him. People wanted him out. Like, that's my thing is, why can't this happen for everybody? Just, guys, I'm not saying you have to be positive and everything has to be sunshine and rainbows, but right now your team is cooking. I guarantee if you polled America or baseball fans around America, Philly's got to be top in winning the World Series. So we have a very big opportunity in front of us as long as we all decide to continue to play as a team. But like, let the positive vibes flow. We saw how well it worked for Trey. Like, why can't we just continue it? And let me also say, as a guy who's been down to the stadium, and just if you watch it on the TV or whatever it is, the place, it is no joke how loud this stadium is. It is no joke how great these fans have been. So even the guy, I mean, you can't walk down a street during a Phillies game without hearing somebody screaming in their living room or cheering or jumping up and down or waking their house up if their family's already asleep, if they have young kids and all that stuff. It's the energy, everybody's feeding off of it. Like, the team's feeding off the fans are feeding off the team. And until there's an error that's unforgivable, I'm all aboard the positivity train.
Me too, Al. I absolutely am too.
Oh yeah, you're the conductor of that train, Matty D.
I wouldn't say I'm the conductor. I'm in the baggage car, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The organization's been around for 140 years, and we got 2 world championships. So I'm a little short on positivity and really heavy and with desperation. So I want to win a world championship really bad. I want to win multiple ones every year. So I personally tend to gravitate towards those things that are going to prevent me to win a world championship, and that is leaving runners in scoring position, having a guy batting 170 in my leadoff position, and then just not having consistent play at certain places. But I get you. The postseason, and baseball is not an individual sport by no means. It is not the ultimate team sport, but it is certainly a team sport. One person is not picking it up, the other one does. That's why there's 9 of them in the lineup, not just one. I understand that.
Here's the thing is, look at the bench. We haven't even touched our bench yet. Every team has had to go to their bench sooner or later, but has anybody come off the bench and hit outside of when they platooned Marsh and Pache?
That's it. That's all they've had to use.
No. Steve saying bottom line is the lineup is deep. Any 3 or 4 of those 9 guys catch fire is extremely difficult for any pitcher to dominate this team. Walt saying Harper loves getting the energy from the loud home fans. Oh, he eats it a lot. He is a cheering energy vampire. That is what his whole life is based on right now. And got that's why I think he wanted to be in Philly more than anything. He knows that he would get that here. I think that's why San Fran, when there was a rumor that he was looking at San Fran and all this stuff, I mean, outside the money, I can't see a reason why he would not want to be here than anywhere else for that reason. There are still Phillies fans out there that just want to smack for hyper focusing on the negatives instead of looking at both sides of the coin. Al is
why don't you tell you what, Steven? Why don't you and Al go rent a room at the Homers Inn and just enjoy your weekend of staring at others' eyes? All right,
I will, because you know what?
Ridiculous.
Us homers will gladly walk down Broad Street while you guys sit at home trying to find the negativity,
Not
hopefully in a
finding
World Series.
Al, it's never been about finding negativity. It's been about finding the truth and finding realizing what we really are and what we need to be successful. And the bottom line is, right now, I'm digging it. I'm digging everything. But yesterday, as I'm watching the Eagles fall apart to the New York Jets because of reality versus homerism, it's very prevalent, and in this town's much more than any other. Listen, are they? They're built for the postseason. They are built for this moment, and I give them that. And I'm on the train. I am on that train. I am rooting for them as hard as any other Phillies fan out there. But there are some glaring issues with this team that have not raised their heads since the postseason, and I hope they stay down there. But they're there at the surface, and I can see them. So that concerns me, and I have every right to be concerned.
There's nothing wrong with you about being concerned.
Thinking they're red sunglasses, and it's fine. You can be that way. But the reality is the reality, Al.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you in the fact that, yes, there is concerns, but you're telling me if looking across the field, there's not concerns. You're looking across the American League that the Rangers are a perfect team or the Astros are a perfect team. No, that is sports in general, but baseball, like, again, a game that's based on a career of 30%. That is what's going on. Yes, it's all about getting hot at the right time and minimizing mistakes where they don't come back and become game-altering moments. Absolutely. Steve saying, so Zach Wheeler, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander just got to make Mets fans ass chap for years, and I love it. Yeah, absolutely. And they call themselves realists. Stop.
So I'm a realist, man. I am a realist.
The
realist is that we've won two worlds. I almost said Super Bowls. I got way ahead of myself there. We've won 2 World Series championships in 140 years, Stephen. That's what we do the math. That's one every 70 years. I don't have enough time to wait for the third one in the next 70 years since 08. I want them now. So I get it. I know it's a process, and we have the best chance right now since 08 or since 08, 9, 10, 11, in that era.
Yeah.
This is the best chance we've had since then, and I want to capitalize. It hurt last year when they didn't win the friggin' world. It killed me when they didn't win it last year. It really did, and I don't want to go through that again. I want to win it this year.
Tony Woods is saying that was a start today with Schwarber. Schwarber's smash and Bryce Harper and Nick Castellanos slammed home runs. I mean, yeah. I mean, again, it's like, I don't want to say beat a dead horse, but yeah, it's absolutely correct. I mean, a game setting, a tone setting home run like that, like I said, not that crowd needed a reason to go get excited. I feel like the pretzel guy gets his team to get off all their chairs and cheer, but at the same time, it probably set the tone for the Harper hit, and then everything else that kind of went on. So Harper does it, Trey does it, or Harper does it, Schwarber does it, Harper does it, and then next inning you got Castellanos doing it. They were scoring every inning almost up until the sixth inning, and you can't really ask for much more than that. Maybe a couple more crooked numbers would have been nicer, just to make things kind of go on cruise control. But in the postseason, I don't ever expect cruise control games. And if you get it, it's just icing on the cake.
Absolutely.
Let's go to this real quick, guys. Remind you that you know what? I'm going to do this ad first because I want to get into another one right after this. Let's talk about this, guys. If you get injured at work, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, criminal law, David R. Cherry is your man with the plan. 610-565-0300 or cherryinjurylaw.com. These are life-altering moments. We talk about altering games and minimizing mistakes. Well, sometimes big mistakes happen in life, and sometimes big issues happen in life. And you know what you do? You need to go to David R. Cherry for all those moments. cherryinjurylaw.com or 610-565-0300.
Yeah, altering events in life. No, listen. I think everybody gets the wrong impression of me. I'm not a Debbie Downer. I really want to be part of the in crowd, but I just can't. I can't drink the Kool-Aid anymore because I'm just too jaded. I've been a Philly sports fan for 50 years, and I've gone through some tough times. There was football in this town, everybody, before Andy Reid showed up, right? And it wasn't that good. And that's the year I grew up in. And, unfortunately, that's just kind of, the stepping stone there. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about the Phillies winning 5-3. Al, now game 2 is the scene tomorrow night. 48,000 plus more knuckleheads will show up and hopefully root Aaron Nola on to victory. Al, I want to I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the American League just for a second. Rangers
Sure.
are now up 2-0, and they are going back to Arlington with the possibility of maybe closing out that series. Of course, when you're the defending world champions, as the Astros are, they're not just going to go away. They're probably going to make definitely a series of this. But are you watching at all the American League Championship Series? Are you interested in it, or is it a matter of, as you mentioned earlier, I don't care. I just want to get to the World Series. I don't care who we face.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm looking over. I'm paying attention. Am I going to say I'm sitting down and watching every game? No, I mean, I watched half a game, especially because the games go on the same time as ours, or around the same time. So I'm keeping my eye on it. I'm checking on the score. I'm looking at who's doing well, who's hot, who's not. But ultimately, no. In the long run, I don't care. We got to get to the dance, and then I'll worry about what's going on. Like I can't look at a team ahead. First part, I get a little superstitious, especially with my baseball. So looking ahead and assuming that I'm going to be in the World Series, my team's going to be in the World Series, is not something I like to do. But at the same time, I also I'm gonna window shop a little bit.
Yeah, no, you like talking about perfect games in the 7th inning. I heard.
Yeah, right. That's not that was, by the way, completely blown out of proportion. And has been continually perpetrated around
Yeah, I
here.
won't let it go, but I promise I'll never mention it again. I know.
Yeah, right. My ass.
So Aaron Nola tomorrow night. We talked about this too a little bit so far, is to keep the Aaron Nola train rolling again. I mentioned this multiple times throughout this postseason. This is another opportunity for Aaron Nola to continue that auditioning process, if not for the Phillies, but for some other big name team to get that contract, that last big one of his career. Al, I definitely think tomorrow, again, it's not over. It takes 4 of these to win this series, but if the Phillies can actually find a way to win tomorrow and we get another good, solid, because it's been nothing but dominating pitching from Nola and Wheeler up to this point, but we can get Nola to give us give another one tomorrow. You got to feel really good going to Arizona up 2-0.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, going up in anywhere 2-0, but Arizona, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, from a fan base standpoint, like it's we made fun of the Braves fan base. We made fun of the fact that you could walk up day game, go to 100 level ticket for $100. I could not imagine that. I couldn't even imagine that in Philadelphia. Being able to go to the stadium the day of the game, grab a high end ticket for $100 for a team that's in the postseason a lot.
Yeah,
it's mind boggling. Like that's even possible. So yeah, no, I mean, going into Arizona, listen. There's always been that little history where Philly has kind of shriveled up in the desert, for lack of better words. But I mean, do you feel that series we had in the beginning of the season, or in June, I guess it was, that we broke the curse, Matty B, that just doesn't matter in the postseason?
No, I think not only did we break a curse with that series, it turned our season around. If you guys look back at the at that point of the season, the Phillies, I believe, at that point in June, were like 6 games under 500, and then they swept the series out in Arizona and had themselves a pretty good West Coast trip at that point. I think it was a turning point of our season, was that series in Arizona, and that was also one of the games where they knocked out 20 hits in a game. So it's actually not a house of horrors anymore. It shouldn't be. And as you said, any stadium that has a swimming pool there shouldn't be a house of horrors, man. It's
no. Walt's saying Phillies have lost the last 11 versus Rangers, but it still be the postseason to go Phils. Yeah, again, I'm not as worried about those kind of stats. Like, I mean, it is staggering sometimes when you look back at like how the Phillies have fared out in San Fran, for instance, when they're out on the West Coast. For whatever reason, no matter how good we are or how bad they are or whatever, they struggle out in San Francisco.
horrible.
But huh?
They're horrible in San Francisco.
Yeah, and the Rangers, another team we just seem to not always go up against, but it's the postseason. Things are different, man.
Absolutely.
I can't look at that, and I'm not saying you can't look at that and get worried about it, I guess, but I'm not also going to look at it and base my entire we're done, we might not even go. You know what I mean? But again, we might as well do it now, because the reason I'm also bringing this up, because normally I do a cool little segue here when we try to talk about our sponsors, but let's talk about one because it kind of is into the conversation. PhillySportsTrips.com have you covered. You want to go out a Red October tailgate takeover? That's right. in Arizona. You could book a trip out there. You could do that at phillysportstrips.com. It is doable. So go to phillysportstrips.com, lock it up, because there's no way we can't out fan them out, even all the way across the country in Arizona in the desert. Listen, it's getting chilly here in Philly. Guys people would like to go out there and get warmed up. Go to phillysportstrips.com, lock it in, or maybe just lock in something for next year. Maybe go to London. I don't know, take on the Mets, whatever. phillysportstrips.com. And don't forget, all the Eagles away games and home tailgates are available, like this one coming up for the Miami Kelly Green tailgate. They're going to have it at the live casino. So check them out, phillysportstrips.com. The reason I did that is because it is it's that easy. I don't say that easy, but it's almost like a foregone conclusion that most places, except for maybe like New York, Chicago, Philly's going to take over. They're going to take over. So I don't fear going out to the desert. I don't think their normal gripes out there that they have really are going to play a factor at this point.
No, I don't think so either. I think that's not even. This is a factor. The bank is a factor. Fenway Park in October is a factor. Old Yankee Stadium in October is a factor. Not Chase Field. Not places like that. No, I agree. That's definitely not an X factor out there. Al, though, there is the Phillies were not. Pat Bernard mentioned some aggressive base running, and I want to take you back to that play. You remember the play where Alec Bohm was Marsh was thrown out at the plate. I think it was like in the fifth inning. I think it was during one of those situations. Dusty Hoffman's come under some fire this postseason for not making some of the right decisions about sending runners or not sending runners. Now I don't know the mechanics. Obviously, I couldn't see the field image. I couldn't see what was happening on third base. All I did see was the end result. But baseball 101. Obviously, if the ball was hit it on the opposite side of third base, you're going to try to go on contact. But that ball was hit so fast that I would not have attempted to make that, to try to score there. How did you feel about the attempt by Brad Marsh to score in that particular play?
I don't know. I think most people get sent at that point. I can't blame Dusty on that one.
Again, I don't know if he sent him, if it was Marsh who broke, because the runner did break from second as well. That was, that was once the play came to home. But I don't know. I couldn't see if it was Dusty's call to send him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just wondering how you felt about that call in that particular situation.
Well, if it's Dusty or if it's Marsh's, I mean, I don't disagree with the call. Usually that's not an easy play to make. As much as we were talking about when the pitcher turned around to throw to second base. That's not an easy play because you got to throw around the guy, get it right to his glove, and so he can tag the guy out from behind, behind him. So, even though, and you got a guy with speed like Marsh, you want to play aggressive. You got to roll those dice. I say a little bit. I've been said a couple of times during this postseason. I'm okay with it because do you know why? It sets up the next time. It sets up the next time because that's when guys start they know these guys are going to throw. That's when they start making mistakes and overthrowing people or underthrowing people or bouncing the ball in the dirt. As we've seen. So I'm okay with it until I'm not okay with it. And I know that sounds like such a cop out, but I'm okay with it until total cop out. But I'm saying I'm okay with it until it costs us a game. Like if that was go back to game 2 for the Braves, the NLDS. Nobody, a lot of people were upset with Bryce for running like he did. Like I wasn't. He had to tie that game up. That was a hell of a defensive play. Again, same thing. We're trying. We're up 5-0. We were up 5-0 at that point, weren't we? That was that would have been our 6th run at that point, right?
What? No, up at this. No, it was 3-0 at this point.
That was that 3-0. Okay, so that would have been 4, and then we would have 6 altogether. Yeah. So no, I mean that was us trying to keep piling on, and I'm okay with it. Now, again, if the scenario changed, if it's the 8th, 9th inning, we're down, or we're it's a tight game or we're tied, and that could be the difference between taking the lead or not. If he scores, he's a genius. You know what I mean? It's just it's the outcome that dictates if it's stupid or not. You know what I mean?
But mechanically, again, the ball was hit to the right sides. Yes, mechanically you go there, but you got to. I mean, that ball was scorched by Schwarber. I mean, he hit it over 100 miles an hour, and the ball got down to first very quickly. Again, it's hard to sit here and Monday morning quarterback that play. It happened so fast. Marsh made a decision, or somebody made a decision really quickly to send him. But that's the type of stuff, and it goes along with this aggression that the Phillies have been showing all season long with the base running. You got to they're either going to be aggressive and make these types of mistakes, or they're not going to be aggressive, and people are going to get on them for not doing anything. So it's a double-edged sword. I've liked the base stealing or base running approach all season long. They've cleaned it up a lot. They stolen, I think, 30 more bases this year than they did last year.
Overall, in baseball, I think it was like the high. They hit like 200 stolen. I forget what it was. 200 stolen bases quicker than they've done in the last like 20 years or something this year. It was something crazy like that. But it's all because the bags are 8% bigger or whatever the weird number is. Yeah,
it was evident in that first series against the Rangers back in March when they were making base running mistakes that they had a new approach to base running, and I'm okay with it. But you're right. When you're in this type of high stakes game, you got to be really, I don't know. You got to be really on your decision making process, and I just think that at that particular case, Marsh could have taken another millisecond. That ball got down there way too quick. I'm going to stay there. So I don't know, but again, I like it. I like the aggressiveness.
Yeah, and the Rangers caught us at the right time in the last few years. Dodgers have won 11 against us in 83. So I think what Steve's saying is when the Rangers got us, we were in our lower points. And he's right. We
first games of the season this year. We opened the season against the Rangers this year.
And in May, when they were the worst, there was the worst month from them statistically, and they had us in May. So, you're absolutely right. And again, it's a mindset. If you go in this series 2-0, up 2-0, I don't think they care where they play.
Yeah.
I think you're riding that high at that point. I think during the regular season, it's because the stakes aren't as high. And I think you allow those things to creep in your head. And that's the other thing. If you don't allow them to creep in your head, then, you don't think like they know this. Like, Philadelphia is traditionally in Arizona, they're like 5 for 30 in their last, 30 or 35 games or something like that, whatever crazy number it is. Yeah, they think about that there. But I think when it comes to postseason, it's like you got to be just tone deaf to everything. You just got to know, here's the game in front of me, and this is how I got to handle it.
Absolutely. It's a new season. That's why everyone's 0-0 to start the postseason. I agree.
He may not play, but Bruce Bochy is a Hall of Fame manager. Cannot be denied. He is pretty masterful as he used those left-handed in 2020 in 2020 or in 2010, but we got something for him. Bruce Bochy has really given that Rangers organization a shot in the arm, for a lack of better words.
Yep.
Because the Rangers always have been like a good team, but just not a great team. I kind of like the Giants. Always seem to have decent results beginning of the season, but kind of start to trail off in the end and either don't make the postseason usually, and if they do, they barely make any waves, a la the Blue Jays and things like that. That's just that is just the way of the beast, and getting them to play that well at this time of year. Yeah, I mean, he is. I think Bruce Bochy was a Hall of Fame manager before that, and I think this is just this just makes it just signs the dotted line right now for him.
I agree.
There's a lot of Philadelphia and Phoenix, especially retired. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people I know who have retired because people think of retirement from here, they go to Florida, but a lot of people don't want to deal with Florida because hurricanes and weather issues down there. It's just it is. There is a large contingency. I think there's a large contingency of Philadelphia in pockets throughout the country. I mean, if you're on Facebook and you follow any sports groups, I guess, there's always Bird's Nest here in Dallas and in California and in Minnesota or whatever. They have them everywhere. So yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not afraid about representation even out in Arizona. This fan base, not just energetic, not just there for their team at home, but they are there for their team everywhere, and they enjoy it. People spend every last cent they have to get to these places. So I thought Marsh got his hand in on home plate.
Nah, he was
dead. Watching it when it was live. Watching it live, he looked like he was dead to rights. But when they slowed it down, it was a little closer than it looked going live. I have to admit, it was a little closer because he tagged him out kind of in the stomach area. So with his arm stretched, I'm sorry, blocking the camera. With his arm stretched out, I think it looked a little closer than it really was.
Yeah,
Matt, okay, you got Steve and saying I'm right now. You're right. Matty B is right. Don't ever say that, Steve. Schwarber hits 110 mile per hour balls. While I have no issues with the aggression already, up 3-0, I think Matty is correct there. Yeah, no, I agree. Like I'm not upset with the call to try to score there. And again, like I said, it's a chess game. It's if you looked at that moment, yeah, it looks stupid. Maybe not a good idea to run them, but again, it sets up them knowing that this team's going to be aggressive and they're not afraid of getting out even at home plate. So the next time the guy does it, it may make him think, double guess himself, and kind of overthrow or do something. So I think that plays a factor going forward as well.
Absolutely. It plants that
But don't
seed.
ever say Matty B's right. Don't ever give him that.
No, keep saying it, Steve. I need that.
Yeah, he can't widen his doorways anymore than it is.
Yeah.
I've said before, but I have to say it again. How would you like to be Joe Girardi right now? I can't imagine he gets a manager job again. Banjo player, maybe.
I'm telling you, I would not be surprised to see Girardi show up with one of the two vacant NL East or one vacant NL East job. I would not be surprised to see him as the Mets manager or replace Snicker when he gets fired by Atlanta. I would not be surprised to see him fill one of those.
You think Snicker gets fired?
I think Snicker gets fired. I do. I think they're gonna. I think. How can you justify that to their fan base? I mean, you just can't. 2 straight years doing that. I think Snicker gets fired. I wouldn't be surprised to see Girardi either in Atlanta or with the Mets next year, honestly.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. And the thing is, I don't dislike Joe Girardi. I really don't hate. I don't hate him. But at the same time, yeah, that'd be great for us. Because you know what? I think we're in his. I mean, here's the thing: is I have to imagine the Philadelphia Phillies organization alone is living rent free inside his head. He may not put it out there at all, but you can't tell me that. All right, like if I'm him, I'm like, all right, 2022, the Phillies losing the World Series. It was a fluke. I wasn't my fault. Not a big deal. And then this comes around. Now you're like, all right. Now I look like a jackass. And
him and Carson Wentz go to the same therapist and have dual sessions about.
They're going to need it. They're going to need it.
Yeah, I agree.
That Montgomery is a tough pitcher. Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, listen, again, I said it earlier. Everything's going to be tough. Even a guy that maybe during the regular season, I mean, the Braves brought in Brad Hand. Brad Hand has been in every NL East team at this point, I think, right?
Yeah,
he's been in. Has he been in Miami?
That's where he came from. He got traded from Miami to Atlanta.
And he was in New York. He was in New York. He was here. And he was in Washington. So he has been in every NL East team at one point or another.
In the last 3 years.
And you know what? When he came up, you're like, oh, Brad Hand any day of the week. But, did a good job at one point against us. So it doesn't matter. Everything is like the slate is clean. You got to look at like the video, the pitching matchups. Like, what are you going to do when you go up against him? I agreed that point. But overall, I mean, it's a different. Everything's different. Everything's turned up times 10, and everybody is locked in. I mean, you see the velocity come up. A lot of people kind of bang on the skip here a little bit, Rob Thompson, but don't tell me that they're not, that Zach Wheeler isn't pitching the way he is because the way they handled him going down the stretch, especially in August and September. That 6-man rotation, that might be, the difference between them getting exhausted in game 4 or 5 of a World Series run.
Yeah, I agree. No, I absolutely agree.
By the way, speaking of base running, Bryce Harper should feel bad about the overrunning of those bases. Who remembers the late Tim McCarver after he hit the home run and passed Gary Maddox on third base?
It's a little bit before my time too. I don't think you remember that. I was just like in the 70s.
I know about it. I've heard.
I know about it too. Yeah.
I have grandfathers and uncles who talk about that, a lot. But my point is, I'm not mad at the situation. I mean, if that was the last game of the series, and if it was do or die, go home. If we don't, it's a different story. They, momentum's with them. They're trying, and look at all the thing again. Like I said, how it sets up the next thing. You got guys like RC is saying, "Attaboy, Bruce," or "Attaboy, Bryce, way to go!" Right? Look what that did.
Right.
Look what that did. It made them sorry that they poked that bear.
And it was a T-shirt.
Huh?
And it became a T-shirt.
That's my thing. Is like listen. There's a cause and effect to everything that happens, and those are little things that you can't plan for, you can't buy, you can't train for. Those are things that guys will, they will regret. And you saw how RC regretted it, how Bryce Harper made him regret it. Do I think Bryce Harper still hits 2 home runs? Maybe. Sure, why not? But am I saying this because RC said "attaboy" in the locker room and it leaked out? I'm not saying it's 100% on it, but don't tell me. I mean, we see this with the greats, by the way, and like, God, I hate to do this comparison because people want to jump all over you, but look at some of the greats. Look at Michael Jordan. Look at Kobe Bryant. Those guys made up things in their head to make them angry at you, to win games, to put 40 points on you in a night. It's talk about fuel. It is an absolute fuel for them. And if he didn't do something, which, let's be honest, he overran. Again, I'm okay with the aggression at that right moment. That might have been a different ball game the next game.
Well, I'm 100% on board with you. I personally never. I had the call on game 2. I came on here. I was more upset about how we got to that point, not necessarily that point. Yeah, no, I don't blame him at all either. I really don't. It was the game was weird. The game got out of control, and he was just trying to do his best. I know it's fundamental baseball and little league. You teach don't ever run the bases. You got to make sure you know the situation and all that. I get that, but you mentioned it, Al. This was the playoffs, and it's do or die. It's all or nothing. So I had no issues with that. And he comes back in the next night, and it's it's what happened. So you're right. It all does set up. I agree with that. Just like tomorrow, Merrill Kelly, Aaron Nola, 8:07 start time down there at Citizen Bank Park. The Flyers game was moved to a 6 o'clock start to compromise that or to help that. By the way, if you are planning on heading down to the sports complex tomorrow, please do it early enough. It's going to be a madhouse down there, and take public transportation if necessary, because it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, they actually put out a travel advisory. Because it's not just the Flyers, it's not just the Phillies. There's also a soccer game going on at the link. So all 3 stadiums are going something going on at the same time. So yeah, wherever you're going down for, I don't even know what time the soccer game is, but whatever you're going down there for, travel early and travel often. And speaking of that, let's bring this up. Here is your lineup. The Clear the Ice. Tomorrow will not be post game tomorrow because of the Fightins final. But there will be a recap sometime on Wednesday in the early morning, afternoon time. Maddie B will be on that to give you a recap, because Clear the Ice is back, ladies and gentlemen. When they make a postseason run with the Phillies, we got to kind of move and juggle things around. The Thursday game will be back because the Phillies Thursday game is 5 o'clock. And I believe it's a 7:30 start for the Oilers-Flyers game. So there'll be a post-game show for both. We have a new guy here on Clear the Ice with Austin. You've seen him on the Attacking Third on Thursdays, but he'll be also joining us in the post-game for the Flyers game. So right now we have all the games locked up, even for Saturday if needed, barring a sweep, for the Phillies post-game, as well as Clear the Ice. And, of course, pre, post, and halftime for the Dolphins game. That's going to be later. I believe the pregame will still be at 11 a.m. I'll get all that out this week, at sometime in the next coming days. And then everything else will be halftime and postgame. So a lot of work for us here at EOP over the rest of the week. So, guys, please enjoy us. Please share, subscribe. Also, thank you for everybody. Our YouTube page has just been blowing up. We've been well over 10,000. We've gained hundreds of new followers over the last 30 days. It's all because of mainly the ladies looking at Maddie B.
Whatever. Yeah. It's the numbers all I'm concerned about. I don't fear anybody.
Yes. But guys, now I want to thank Maddie B. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight.
My
Oh,
pleasure.
yeah. Let me throw this up here. Here is what your lineup for the Fighting's final will be for the next 5 games. Of course, tonight, me and Matty B. Tomorrow night, you'll get the PM and the AM crew, Mike and Pat, a little earlier than you're used to. So you'll have them tomorrow night. Game 3 on Thursday will be me and Mike with featuring Joey Marks from the Patterson Fanatics. I know, guys, they've been on a little hiatus, so Joey Marks will be joining in. And Friday, it'll be Pat and Mike again. And then, if needed, me and Matt will be back together for Game 5, possibly from EOP Studios together. We'll let you guys know as that goes. It is just so much more fun when we're in the same place yelling at each other than.
And remember, if Game 4 is a clinching game, and this is something I want people to, I'm saying it because I want you to take mercy on me. If Game 4 is a clinching game, I've been sent out into the streets of Philadelphia. I'll be at Frankfurt and Cottman on Game 4 Friday night if it's a clincher.
Yeah.
And if I'm up there, I'm asking for just mercy. All right, I'm an old man. Just take pity on my soul as I try to navigate through that sea of people.
Yeah, our YouTube channel can't take a hit of the loss of Matty B right now. We can't. We can't have that. But guys, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And like I said, tomorrow, Kelly Green Hour will be at 6. Birds at a Round Table will be at 7, and then again, the rest of the night will be the Fighting's final. Wednesday will be, as you can see, Clear the Ice recap, Philly Press Box Radio, and me, Fred, and Joe will be back for EOP Sports Live, talking about Eagles lost to the Jets, looking forward to the Dolphins, and definitely talking injuries going, because there's a lot to talk about in that world. So other than that, thanks, Matty B. Huh?
Freddie's coming back?
Freddie's been back. It's just, I think a lot of people look like they've been off because of this postseason. We've been moving things around.
Yeah. So
it just works out. So other than that, guys, we'll see you next time, and go Phils. Phil's up 1-0 in the series.
I got one more thing, Al. You know what I gotta do. Yo, Harry K, what you got, man?